shift focus to some news, important news that came in on Friday evening after markets closed. It was a giant of a news, so the markets are still trying to get their arms around it. The Central Board of Direct Taxes has proposed a roadmap for phasing out all tax exemptions, so much so that in 4 years, the finance minister will be able to announce a 25% corporate tax. This is part of course, the finance minister's stated proposal in the budget. By 2018, he wants to bring down the corporate tax rate to 25 from 30%. Gokul Chaudhri, the leader direct tax of BMR and Associates, is joining us now to understand how the P&L of companies that investors invest in will be impacted. Well, first up, Mr. Chaudhri, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Should one start by being a little negative on several of those companies which are going to see sunset of their tax advantages, notably SEZ companies, or for that matter, oil pipeline companies? Those clearly were not expecting their benefits to go in 2017. Now they go.
Well, Lata, let's start on an optimistic note.
Okay.
The finance minister has stated that he's going to grandfather the tax holidays, and he has proposed a three-pronged approach. He has said that, look, wherever there are sunset clauses, I will not disturb them. So if there's a sunset clause of 2018 or 2020, let's say in the case of backward states or new states like Telangana, where there's 2020, well, he said, I'm not going to disturb those dates, and projects can continue and be able to live with that predictable roadmap. What he has suggested is that wherever there were open-ended tax holiday provisions, such as for SEZs or for oil and gas or for power in certain situations, he has said that, look, we're going to put a grandfathering date of 31st of March 2017. What that effectively means is you need to go into operations or you need to go into commencement by that date. Once you go into commencement by that date, you will be able to avail of your tax holiday for the full duration of the tax holiday or the tax exemption that had been proposed for that sector. So let's take SEZ for example. If you're able to get your SEZ up and running by the 31st March of 2017, well, then you get your 5 years plus 5 years plus 5 years free cycle going through for the remaining period. So really, some of the tax companies who will be able to meet the threshold or the drop dead date will continue to have tax holiday benefits going up to 2025 or 2030. Okay. So that's a pretty long period of time for which he's provided.
So it's negative only for those who are not able to get their SEZs up and about in April 2017.
True, and therefore I think between the years 2016 all the way up to 31st March of 2017, I think we will see a heightened economic activity for projects to get completed, which effectively means that the finance minister is trying to meet his short-term goal of trying to kickstart the economy and to kickstart economic activity such that there is a carrot for people to complete their projects and get on stream quicker than later.
Okay, so for the industry as a whole, Gokul, apart from this reduction in the corporate tax rate to 25%, there is also the GST implementation that the industry is looking forward to. On that, there is an expectation of an 18 to 20% rate as well. Put together, what could the impact be?
Well, I think if the industry is able to bring in a pragmatic GST, and pragmatic not just from a rate perspective but also from how the supply chain credit system will work, then obviously we have a pretty easy or easier framework for doing business and a lower tax burden on the industry. So effectively, it is not just about the rate, it's also the mechanisms which will be adopted in relation to the GST. For example, if you look at electricity or solar or power, the issue which is there is, well, at this moment you have electricity generation, including from solar, which is exempt category from GST. You look at the refining sector, they've been kept outside of the GST. Now, if we were to look at a pragmatic GST which brings in all of the petroleum products into the GST, and we also look at electricity and so forth to be zero rated, then the capital cost of these projects can come down very materially, because a solar power plant or a thermal power plant will be able to take the entire input tax cost and be able to either offset it or reclaim it, which effectively means that the cost to the industry for setting up the project goes down by 15–20%, which is quite material and could quite offset the tax holiday, which has anyway been vitiated over the last few years with the increasing rate of the MAT.
Okay. Well, what about those guys who make investments in R&D? Have your clients come to you cribbing, saying that now the deduction is not going to be 200% but 100%? I mean, in India, the auto ancillary industry or the pharma industry are those that have invested a lot in R&D. Are any of them unhappy?
Well, we said we're going to talk about the good news first. So this is not the good news. The good news ended with insofar as the rollout for some of the other sectors was concerned.
Yeah.
But the withdrawal of the exemptions for the R&D is quite unreasonable at this point of time. It's unreasonable for several reasons. A, we have a situation where competing economies around the world are bringing in rules such as the patent box or the innovation box to be able to attract companies to be able to do R&D or do innovative work or do patent-related work in their jurisdictions. Or if the work is to be outsourced, they want those patents and intangibles to be registered in their jurisdiction, such that they recognize the long-term advantages that R&D brings for productivity, for competitiveness, and so forth. So in that sense, I think the finance minister has gone a little too early in trying to have this uniform date of 31st March 2017 to also apply to the weighted deduction that was enjoyed for R&D. I would not be surprised that in response to the plea from the industry, they may get a sensible hearing, and the finance minister could try and give a longer window insofar as R&D deductions are concerned.
Okay. Well, just to wind up this discussion then, Mr. Chaudhri, you told us one positive for the economy could be that you would see heightened activity of bringing the SEZs into commencement date in the next 1 year. Two, you also told us that it would be positive that there is 100% depreciation allowed for capital costs, and therefore that would be positive for many of the energy companies. Any other key takeaways?
Well, I think this has to be tied in also to the announcement that Finance Minister made a few days before that, which is in relation to the foreign direct investment into construction development sector.
Okay.
Whereas he did bring in the fact that you can bring in foreign equity even into brownfield semi-constructed projects, which means that the liquidity issue that will be faced by some of the incompleted projects in construction development could also have the benefit of raising the capital and trying to get to the completion date if they were eligible for tax holidays.
Okay. That's important then. We should see heightened construction activity. That will be positive for the entire economy. That was a quick take on the CBDT's roadmap and what it might mean to the economy and to industry. Gokul Chaudhri, thank you very much for joining us with that quick take.